Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the show at Rise Up Show with me, your host, the Queen Bee, Dani. How are you feeling? As we chat this morning to the devilishly handsome, the fabulously wonderful, the incredibly knowledgeable Mr. Fidel Hill, the modern man. Good morning. Jodie Salt, good morning. Babna Reddy, good morning. Elise Woodbine, good morning. The devilishly handsome Ian Dixon, good morning, sir.
Shut up, for f***'s sake. Jesus.
The fantastic Lizzie Jackson Barrett, good morning. Josephine Sandra, everybody, good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the show at Wise Up Show this Monday. Look, I am serving you up me. I am a bit worse for wear today, and I don't mean I'm hungover. I'm absolutely categorically not hungover. You'll be pleased to know. But I had my second jab yesterday, and I have had very, very little sleep. I'm feeling a little bit fragile this morning. So you've all got to come in and look after me. I hope you're all right. But yeah, like this eye's all swollen up. It's very strange. Like I don't know if it's a mixture of hay fever or what, but you are getting me without makeup and with my gigs on this morning. That's what I'm serving you, like it or not, because either way, whether I am feeling ropey or not, our guest this morning is absolutely fabulous. So there was no way that your girl was cancelling. There was no way that this show was not going to go ahead because we've got some things to talk about this morning. But before we do, how are you? How was your weekend? Oh, man, I managed to go to the theatre, darlings, on Saturday night. It was amazing. We went to Proud Cabaret at the Embankment. Me and a couple of friends, it was amazing. It was like a proper, like we ate nice food. We saw incredible acts. Duncan James from Blue was in drag, like I was here for it. It was just an amazing, amazing evening. What did you guys get up to this weekend? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know where you're watching from in the world. We do have a global audience. We have people watching from all over the world. Let me know where you are watching from and what the weather's doing. For some reason this morning, the sun has taken his hat off. We don't have the scorching sun outside as yet. I don't know if the grey clouds will burn away, but let me know what's happening where you are in the world. Who's this Facebook user? Still full of a cold, but getting more human each day. I feel like I'm on the downward spiral to come up through the other side, but I am persevering because I've got some incredible people to talk to over the course today as well, which I'm quite excited about. Exciting things are coming. Good morning, Amy Blaney. How are you? Went to look at a house to buy. Ooh, nice. That is exciting. I know that feeling all too well. So fingers crossed that all comes off for you, my darling. Congratulations for going to have a little nosy, putting yourself in the house, you know. Cloudy, it's a bit shit. Warm but dull over in Lanzarote with our glorious Joe Gilbert. Yeah, it has. It's got a bit overcast over this side. I don't know what happened to the I don't know what's happened to the sunshine. It was glorious. So on Friday, we haven't had as yet like a paddling pool, nor have we been able to have, like in the old house, we didn't have a garden that we could really go out. It's shown it. I don't know why it didn't show. I don't think, depending on where you're watching from, I guess. I think if you're inside the hive, sometimes you've got to give StreamYard permission. That's why we can't see you. But I can see you now, Shona. You're there. Hello, you. But yeah, we weren't able to like have paddling pools and stuff because the way that the sun was in the old house, the way that we had to access the garden was really awkward. The kids just couldn't come like in and out as they pleased because the way that the door locked, it was all very awkward. Here, however, we managed to get a massive off paddling pool. Wallace was not impressed because of the size of it, but you know, I'd like to be a little bit extra. And yeah, so the kids have been playing in the paddling pool this weekend. It's been pretty awesome. Exciting things coming up. in IATQB land. Some of you will have noticed, you'll have seen, if you are sort of in our vicinity, in the little online space, the little corner of the online space that we have, that there is a challenge on the horizon. There isn't my challenge. However, I am going to implore as many of you as possible to come and get amongst it. Lisa Johnson, who is, I attribute a lot of the success that you see of IATQB to Lisa and the things that I've learned with her with regards to recurring revenue, passive, semi-passive income, and also how to create incredible products to share in the online space. A lot of my success I attribute to Lisa Johnson, but she is running her race to recurring revenue, absolutely banger of a challenge. But as part of that whole process, I'm going to be partnering with her. So more on that in the next couple of days. Some of you will have seen there's lots of partners knocking around. It is a huge, huge situation in this corner of the internet. And it's because it has such impact. So I'm really excited in the next few days to share with you how I'm getting involved with that. So yeah, really, really exciting. Other things, at the end of this month, at the beginning of July, we've got this summer strategy swarm. So I am going to be taking my little wings and flapping them about the UK from Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham, Glastonbury, London. I am going. Where else am I doing? I think that's it. We've taken Norwich and Newcastle out, but I'm going to be holding one-day workshops that you can get involved in. We have just a few spaces left on London, a few spaces left on Manchester, and we've got Birmingham, Glasgow, and Glastonbury as well. So if you do want to come along to the Summer Swarms, do give me a shout. I can give you some more information. But yeah, places are limited. I'm really excited. We're going to get some good stuff done on those incredible strategy sessions. Those that have been on the B Treat will attest to the fact that the space that we hold on those strategy sessions are pretty epic. You're going to want to be in the room where it happens. Also, we get to hang out in real life and do things like break bread together and hang and talk about all your incredible plans for you and your business. So do get involved if you haven't already. All right, that's it. That's everything I've got to tell you from my side of things. That's us all caught up from the weekend. It is now time to welcome our fantastic guest on this morning. So you will have noticed over the past few weeks, I've been interviewing members of Natasha Bray's phenomenal Story Mind Mastermind, whose book, better have it to hand. Where is it? I took it with me in the car because I read a little bit whilst I were out and about. I've not got it to hand. Oh, I've had it in my hand all bloody week. But whose incredible book, When Women Heal, went straight to #1 bestseller in multiple categories globally. We did a Story Mind takeover on Thursday. And it was just phenomenal to be a part of. But this is one of the contributors and all-round awesome person. We've got the glorious Bianca Riemer joining us this morning. Good morning.
Hi.
There she is. I was having a little panic backstage. I was like, is she going to come and join me? And there she was. As soon as I hit go live, roll credits, there she is.
Yeah. You're talking about having a rough weekend. Same for me. You know, the book was out last week. I signed 2 new high-ticket clients, and then my husband wished me off to the countryside, and then it was zoo, swimming, go ape.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, Bianca, that sounds amazing. That's quite a week and weekend you've had then, right?
Yeah. It was full on. So this morning I was just like, I'm having a lion. You get to do the school run, my love.
Same. My eldest daughter gets up at 6:30 to go to school, and I take her down to the bus stop because the bus stop's quite a way away. And I was just like, please, just let me stay in bed for half an hour more.
6:30, 7:30 is difficult enough for me.
Yeah, it's early. It's early when you're feeling rough. So Bianca, welcome to the show, Rise Up Show. This is your show today, and it's we've had lots of your mastermind sisters come onto the show in the past few weeks, and we've had some phenomenal conversations. And I've been so excited about having you on today and knowing you better and finding out more about what it is that you do. So tell us, Bianca, tell us more about what it is that you do.
Yay. So my background is working in the city. So I was a city girl. It was me and all the guys, right? Mm-hmm. And it was pretty tough. So at the beginning, I almost burned out. I almost threw the towel and thought, I can't be bothered with this anymore, right? All this misogyny, sexism, etc.
It's a lot.
And then I did the healing, which I talk about in the book. And I just stopped working all the hours. I stopped saying no to all the ridiculous requests I was getting all the time. And I started being more myself, right? I'm quite straight to the point. And people loved it. People loved it. And I started working half the hours, no more weekends, no more evenings. And I had babies as well, which is like, oh my gosh, she's having babies? No way. I had babies. And then after 9 months, I came back. And people told me, you've been out for too long.
Right.
There's no way you can come back, right? You better take it easy. And then the next redundancy round, just take the payoff and leave. And I thought, well, I'm just going to give it my best shot, right? And I just continued, took my meetings with myself out to go and pump for my baby because I was still breastfeeding.
Right, wow.
And, unheard of. It's like, oh, why are you still breastfeeding?
Why are you even bothering?
Formula milk? And then I shot to the top of all the charts. I was number 5 in the world for what I was doing. Unheard of, right? Because before my maternity leave, the highest I ever got was number 8. And that's still really good out of 250 guys.
Mm-hmm.
I was at number 5. And after my second maternity leave, I was still number 6 out of 250 people. So I think when you allow yourself to really lean into who you are and show up authentically, even in the corporate world, it totally works. Like, people love the fact that I just said what I thought and that I connected the dots. I spoke to lots of different people in the space. And my salary, my total comp kept creeping up even after having babies and only working half time.
It's often a restriction that is placed upon us as opposed to a restriction we place upon ourselves. I think sometimes when we talk about parenthood quite a bit on the show, and I mean, particularly in the online space, we often want to help parents and mothers particularly because there is an unfairness with regards to how parents get treated, mothers particularly, how parents get treated or single parents get treated within the workplace, because quite rightly, there is a portion of their life now that is dedicated to bringing forth the new generation. That doesn't negate, when that happens, your abilities in your field, though. And I always found that really interesting, particularly when I worked in the car industry. I worked for a little while in the car industry. I remember hearing really like the misogyny around the recruitment of women, around the promotion of women. We don't want to be promoting her into that role because she's not had babies yet. So there's going to be babies coming at one point, and then we're going to lose it for 9 months. So they were taking the best people out of the roles because of that. And it's horrid to be part of. What area of corporate, what sort of industry were you working in that particular field?
Oh, I was a stock market analyst. So
really, really male heavy.
Yeah, it was me, the team secretary, and guys in suits. So I get phone calls. So my role basically was to look at the stocks that are trading on the stock market and say, this price is wrong. The market is missing something, and I know the answer, right? So for a foreign, I'm German, and my German accent used to be a lot stronger. And I walked into a room, and as soon as I said something, it's like, who let the Nazis in? Really mean stuff, like really hardcore meanness. Yes. And I was just like scared to say anything because of all the like, oh my gosh, there's a woman who let the woman in, and then she's German. Oh my God. That's like double trouble, right? So anyways, I got to cover German property stocks. So clearly I would have been the expert on that. And there were a lot of other Germans covering the German property stocks, right? So it wasn't just because I was German, but I just didn't take all the shit, basically. So it does take quite a lot of guts to walk into a hedge fund manager office and tell them that they don't know about XYZ, right? And why this stock should go up and why that stock should go down. And you meet a lot of really skeptical people because, hey, who's this woman? And she's not in a black suit. Yeah. And she didn't go to Oxford and Cambridge. And oh my gosh, I even failed my final professional accounting exam.
Wow.
I mean, I was like the black sheep, big time.
But still performing, and again, still smashing those targets and still performing in a real, and this goes to show, I find this very interesting. Again, a lot of successful entrepreneurs that I know, successful people, actually, yes, of course, there is place for the education system, and yes, there's place for qualification. Of course, there is. But similarly, you can carve out a space for yourself in abundance and success and in high-flying jobs, even if you don't have those things, right?
Absolutely. I think it even comes in as an advantage, because here's the thing. In banking, right, it's all about the image that you give, right? That's why everybody wears tailored suits, and you gotta have the right watch, right? Not a super expensive one, but not a cheap one, right? Yeah. And it's all about the image. And people, there's a really big theme of perfectionism going on. Like, it's gotta be right. Everything has got to be right. And in stock market analysis, everybody is scared to get it wrong. And I was the same. I also was scared to get it wrong, right? And then 1 year I got everything right. I was at the top of the rankings in terms of getting it right. Like, all my calls, all the stocks performed the way that I wanted them to perform. I went into my performance review and I said, I got all the calls right. And my manager was there going like, if that's what you think we're doing here, then you don't know what we're all about. And then he basically explained to me that our role was just all about making noise and getting people to trade the shares. And I was like, okay, I can give you that, right? And that's when I went really out and had like 45% upside to the price.
Wow.
It means, hey, I think this stock is going to go up 45%.
So then it is more like understanding the stocks and creating whisper campaigns then based on what you thought the performance was going to be, and whipping up a frenzy around those particular stocks, right?
There was a little bit like that, although it was very much a long-term thing, right? I wouldn't have gone, oh, today the stock's going to go up 20%. We didn't do that.
Go.
It was more like, hey, over the next 18 months, I think the stock's got the potential to go up 45%. And then luckily it did. It went up a lot more than 45%, right? I wouldn't have, what did you say? Beat up a frenzy just for the sake of it?
Yeah.
No, I think I was lucky enough that in my space, there were a lot of really interesting companies. Big Yellow, Unite Students, that you might know these companies there in the UK. I covered them. And in Germany, I had similar companies where I saw a lot of upside potential. And then I thought, well, I'm not sure it's going to be in the next 2 years, but hey, I'm going to make a lot of noise and then let's see. And luckily, there was a lot of interest. So those stocks did go up a lot more, actually. But yeah, I think most people in the space were scared of making mistakes and getting it wrong, over-promising. But for me, since I'd gone through so much, making mistakes in my childhood and then failing lots of tests. I failed my first driving test. I failed my accounting exams. I failed my first hypnotherapy exam. I'm very good at failing. But
you've got to be in order to be successful. Here's the thing. But we say this all the time. Again, for people watching at home, as long as you're failing forward, then failure is necessary for growth. You've got to know how to get things wrong in order to get things right? Because you become more fearless the more you fail, because you realize that you don't die. unless your job is to jump off cliffs safely, and then you can get that wrong. Then of course there are mortal risks. But for the most part, for most of us, that you realize that failure is actually you need failure in order to succeed, don't you?
Exactly. So it's the fact that I just did stuff. There was we'd never done videos before, and then I was one of the first to do videos, and I took this little camcorder to Switzerland and filmed all the cranes in the Zurich office market, and interviewed a company who said, oh no, it's all fine, and then interviewed a property agent who said, oh my gosh, we're building a lot of stuff here in Switzerland, office prices are going to go down, right? Because there's all the supply
more of it.
And the quality wasn't great because it was one of the first that we did. It was like this 5-minute news flash video on the Zurich office market with me talking and then the property guy and the agent guy and showing the cranes. And we got inundated with clients calling us saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Now I don't have to go to Zurich myself and speak to the agent because you've done it. And here's the thing wasn't perfect. It was bad quality. The sound was bad.
You look back and you go, oh, did we put that out there? But at the time, if it's unheard of, it's still revolutionary, isn't it?
It was. And then I did lots more of that. And even nowadays, so I'm out of corporate 3 years now. And even now I get people come to me in the street or like my Saturday German singing class with my kids. As this dad comes up to me and he's like, are you the Bianca Riemer from Morgan Stanley? The one that did all the amazing videos?
I love it.
Gosh,
yes, this is she. So you had this piece around the protection of yourself. So you're still going into work. You're performing incredibly well. It is, you know, whether we like it or not, you know, the banking, the finance industry, the stocks industry, it is really high pressured. It is. There's a lot of stress that goes with that. So did you say you did some healing around the protection of your evenings, your weekends? You know, obviously you was maintaining boundaries around the fact that you were breastfeeding your kids. What did you do to help you with that? Because it's very easy to be swept along in that environment. It's very easy to be overworked in that environment. It's very easy for it to be morning, noon, and middle of the night in that environment. How did you come to that strength around the ownership of your time? Because boundaries is something that is so important, especially when you have your own business, especially out here in the entrepreneurial space, having your but when you're creating these businesses at the beginning, it's hard to have these. Great friend of mine, Lee House, calls them personal contracts with yourself. How did you come to that?
Yeah. So in the book,
I'm so glad you have a copy of it. I don't know where mine has gone. It's in my bag because I took it with me to read over the weekend.
So in the book, When Women Heal, I talk about it in a lot of detail. So basically, it had to get really bad for me before I realized how bad it was, right? So I did work all hours initially, and I did say yes to everything that they wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And so it was 7 a.m. until 10 at night sometimes. Then you're back in at 7 a.m, right? And you're just like,
when do you switch off? That's all your brain is talking about then, isn't it? You know, you don't get away from it. There's no relief from it.
Yeah, totally. And I went to weddings on the weekend and I just slept through the wedding. I just excused myself and said, okay, now they're going to take pictures of the groom and bride. So I'm just going to go for a little nap. And then I woke up the following morning. That's how knackered I was, right? And I was basically not living a life. I was not living a life. So it came to the point where I went to a gym class after like 4 weeks of not doing anything. I went to gym class and I almost fell off the bike.
Wow. That'd probably be me now, in fairness.
Yeah, me too. So I fell off the bike and I went and took a shower. My face was bright red when I got out of the shower, right? And my colleagues were like, oh, good workout then. I said, yeah. That's when I realized, actually, something needs to change, right? And I got the help. I went and got help. I went to see a health coach, acupuncturist, pranic healing. I did some therapy, etc., the whole lot. And these people basically helped me realize that it's not worth living this life, right? Or that I wasn't living any sort of life. So the first steps were that I went to have lunch, sit down lunch, and I actually ate some food because I wasn't eating. I hadn't been eating. So I forced myself to go upstairs into the company canteen, just sit down, no screens.
Have lunch.
And just sit and chew my food for 20 minutes, actually chew my food rather than just wolfing it down, right? Because my body was just like 5 to midnight. It was really, really bad. So I had to do that, and it was hard, Dani. It was so hard because I was like, they're going to find out I'm eating food. What
if they find out I'm taking time to chew?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm chewing this food. What am I doing chewing this food? Wasting my effing time.
Let's go back on the phones. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, and so I went back downstairs and I looked around and then I realized, oh my gosh, they haven't noticed that I was gone for like half an hour to eat some food, right? So that's how stressed out I was. I wasn't even eating any food.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was the first step. And then I still remember this really. I started saying no, and the first time I almost had a heart attack when I
Make
said
you feel like this.
Yeah. So I was gonna have a call with somebody from like a massive account, global fund manager. He was my client. I was gonna have a call about one of my small stocks. And my colleague says, hey, Bianca, can you just quickly update the spreadsheet for me? And it would have taken me an hour to quickly update that spreadsheet for him, right? And I said, oh, I can't do it right now because I'm just jumping on the call with Dirk. And I said the guy's surname, which he's a big guy, basically, an important guy. And my colleague just went, oh, that's not very helpful. And the phone rang and I went, hi, Dirk, how are you?
No, it's not very helpful for you. You can go and update your spreadsheet. I'm doing a thing.
Yeah, I'm like actually talking to the big guy now whilst you're sitting there picking your nose and thinking about what else you can give me. So that was like, I almost had a heart attack because I said no to the guy. And then I almost had a heart attack because I was speaking to this really important guy and everything I knew about the stock, right? So that, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't die when I said no.
Right.
And then
it's so hard. Like for many of us, we want to say yes because we don't want to be seen as not be like. It's interesting phrase that you used directly after. That's not very helpful. And I think for most of us, we want to be helpful people. You know, we want to be kind. It's not seen as, you know, it's not a kind act saying no. But you've got to realize that actually saying no, you're being kind to yourself and actually to the job in hand. Because otherwise, you end up spinning so many plates that you can't do one well. So it's really flying in the face of what we believe we should be doing, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I wouldn't have been able to continue like that. They'd already told me that. They probably put me in the next round. So this was way before kids, right? This was and I went from almost being in the next redundancy round, right? That's what it means, to getting promoted and being one of the high achievers, and my salary almost doubled, right? Which is also unheard of. So it's totally possible. And all it took was to say no a few times and to actually do the stuff that I wanted to do, which is the video stuff. And
allowing yourself to be innovative as opposed to hanging yourself up with the shitty jobs and we teach people how to treat us. I think that's the important thing as well, that if you, in that particular instance, if you behave like a lackey, then people will treat you like one. And what I mean by that is if you allow yourself to be tied up with those sorts of tasks, being helpful, then you're teaching people that that's what it is that you want to do. So that does make you dispensable because they can get cheaper people in to be that kind of helpful. So if you allow yourself to perform at the level that you know yourself to be able to perform at and stop being the yes person, then obviously you can then spotlight yourself and show yourself to be, you know, the really highly capable, qualified, however we look at it, woman that you are. So you worked within that space, you know, you started saying no, you were promoted and all of this, and you were top performer. What was the point when you decided that enough was enough and you moved out of the corporate space?
Yeah, so my parents both passed away when I had my kids. So my dad passed 4 weeks before my first son's birth. Yeah. My mom passed a year later, and they both passed because they were basically massively burned out, right? They were massively burned out. My mom got cancer. My dad was an alcoholic and died of kidney failure. He just collapsed and died. So that's when I came across the 5 regrets of dying people. And I read the 5 regrets of dying people, and I don't know them all by heart, but one of them is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. One of them was, I wish I'd allowed myself to be happier.
Right. And they don't go, I wish I took more calls at work.
There you go, right? And I was like, shit. And they've given me a desk right next to the window in Canary Wharf, and I had a view on the river, and I saw this speedboat racing past, right? Past Tower Bridge, you can go really fast on the river. And I looked at that speedboat, and I was like, I want to be on that speedboat.
Yeah, I'll be sat here. I won't be on the speedboat, man.
So then when these stock prices going up and down and buy this, sell this, and I was like, I'm not interested in that stuff anymore.
Speedboat with the wind in my hair.
I'm going to be on that speedboat, and then I'm going to do something I really care about, right? And I thought I cracked the code on how you can look after yourself and still have a lot of fun at work, help other people, and make good money. And I left the corporate world. I set up my first business, which I didn't quite like it that way. It was like a breastfeeding snack business, because breastfeeding has been so hard for me. So I thought, oh, these snacks, they help me. And but then I realized that nobody in this country really wants to breastfeed. So then I went more into the counseling space and helped new moms, organize their life. And then some people from the corporate world called me in and wanted me to help them with burnout, because they'd seen me manage that well. And that's how my role then evolved. And today I'm a women's leadership coach. So I'm really passionate about helping women into formal positions of leadership in the corporate world, and also entrepreneurs who want to raise money, because obviously I know very well how to speak to investors, especially if you're a woman, because as women, we have to speak differently than how the men speak to investors. So, and I think when there's more women in senior positions of leadership, everybody wins, right?
100%.
Yeah, we have more engaged employees. People actually love working for women more than they love working for men. Profits are higher in the corporate world when there's women in leadership, and more sustainable. So, hey, this is an absolute no-brainer, right? And it's a matter of obviously helping women getting out of this people-pleasing, overgiving, worthless sense of mindset, and also helping the companies see the true value of women, right?
Of having women on their boards, of having women in senior leadership positions, and core message delivery as well. Like, we deliver it better, however we look at it.
Yeah, we do. It's so much better relationship building, long-term relationship building, right? If you look at sales, the guys are better at short-term, quick sales. They're more aggressive when it comes to sales, but the long-term relationships, women perform a lot better on that. And you sell more over the long term to existing clients, right? So you can look at so many things in the corporate world, and you need a balance of men and women, and we don't have that at the moment. So that's why we're underperforming as corporations. And if we get more women on board, everybody wins.
I love it. And that's your work now, isn't it? Helping those women leaders go for those roles, and help them secure those roles, and a phenomenally important work. And thank you so much for being that beacon of light for so many professional women in that particular space. I know there's lots of people. We're really lucky in this community that we have people that are in employment, that are starting businesses, that have got really established businesses. So it's beautiful to know, Bianca, there are people like you there to sort of pave the way. The answer isn't always create your own business. The answer is necessary within big business to have women in those leadership roles, and have anybody who's in a minority in those roles as well, or in a marginalized group in those roles, because the more voices that we have at the table, the better that workforces can be looked after, and therefore the more productive that they are. It just, like, we're sat here thinking this makes sense here, but it's a lot for corporate as an entity, as a beast to take on, isn't it? Do you think they're starting to wake up more to this now? Can you feel the awakening, or is it still a really tough nut to crack?
I think it really depends on the individual company that you're speaking to. So some companies are actively promoting women, right? They see it, they have targets at the top level on how many women they're going to have at every level. Right, and they make it a target company level, so that they have to be responsible or be accountable to their investors on the targets. Just like you have a profit target or a revenue target, you also have a target for the percentage of women that you have at every level. And you communicate that from the top down to all levels, so that even the guy who runs a little team somewhere, he has to have X women at this and this level, and he gets paid based on the number of women he has in his team. And right, so that's an exemplary company that will have higher profits further down the line, right? Because
yeah, I was just thinking that often with these types of conversations in business at the beginning, when you say, we've got to have so many women on teams, we've got to have so many black people on the team. So you move this into like sort of race or the gender space, whatever you want to talk about. The argument from the people in the positions of power is, but we just want the best people for the job, but they're not doing the right kind of looking to get the best people for the job. So it isn't just a case of ticking boxes. Oh, like we've got a bunch of really qualified men here, let's just get a woman in. How do you go and find the best people for the job and make sure that that's diverse? Have we got to look in a different way to do this, do you think?
Yeah, because here's the thing with assessing women, right? Any woman in the corporate world will have noticed that if a woman and a man do exactly the same job, to have exactly the same performance, and there's lots of studies on this as well.
This is not just us saying it because we're aggrieved.
Exactly. The woman gets lower marks than the man just because she's a woman, even though everything is the same, right? There is there's a study they did at Harvard with was it Harry and the two people had almost identical names, and it was a story of a very high performing person, and then they asked there was one version with a woman as the protagonist and one version with a man as the protagonist. Otherwise, exactly the same story. They gave it to Harvard graduates, and they said, who's performing better at their job? Oh, hang on a sec. No, it was exactly the same story. How well is this person performing on a scale from 1 to 10, and how much do you think this person is regarded in their space? Right. And the woman got significantly lower marks than the guy. Yeah. Right? But it was exactly the same story.
Same story.
Yeah.
It's crackers, isn't it?
It's totally, and it shows how much unconscious bias we have. Yeah. But it's not a man against women thing. It's also women who have unconscious bias against women, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's so hard to objectively assess anybody, because we always know whether the person is a man or a woman. We just have to be aware of the fact that women in the society that we're in at the moment, and also other people of color, different backgrounds, etc. Right? If you're not a white male, basically you're going to be marked down, because we all have unconscious bias against anybody else but white males, and we just have to be aware of that. And I have some clients who are the trophy woman who got onto boards because they were women, right? And they feel an incredible load on their shoulders because they feel that everybody around them is criticizing them because they don't have the technical knowledge that everybody else has. But they're not meant to be there for their technical knowledge.
They're not there for that.
Yeah, for the female qualities that they bring to the table, the collaboration, the empathy, the fact that we can actually speak to people and understand what those other people are saying at a subconscious level, right? What that person actually wants, the leadership skills.
Right, absolutely. And there is so many examples of people that move into a role and feel like they've got to overperform, and this is why so many women experience this burnout, is because they have to amplify what they do where the guys just don't. They just have to go and do the job. So, but then when women enter these roles, they've not just got to do the job, they've got to do better than the job. They've got to do more than is expected of them. It's got to be this, they've got to work twice as hard to get the same pay. So why we talk about, you know, there is still, if you guys are watching at home and don't think there is still, you know, a gender pay gap, then like, look, like there is still the case, and you know, the output, the expectation on the self. And do you help people moving into those roles? The beautiful bit of your story really is around that boundary setting and allowing yourself to say, hey, I can really hold myself in this space. I'm really skilled, I'm really great performing in this area, but I don't have to overgive here. I don't have to burn myself out in the process. I could just really stand within my power. And this is again going back to what you help people with.
Yeah, exactly. So most of my women have already gotten to very senior positions, but they feel it's unsustainable. They feel that, oh, they only put me there because I'm the trophy woman and I'm burned out, right?
Tired.
They do all the quizzes online for depression, for anxiety, but they have established already I have career burnout.
Right, gosh.
So what we do is we basically do the healing from the inside out. So I help them see their own strengths. And then what happens is that they burn all the books on the technical knowledge that they thought they still had to acquire. And they say, fuck that shit. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. And then they go and buy books on cultural understanding and leadership, and they, eat those books alive because they're so interesting to them. They stop working so many hours. They start speaking up in meetings, and without caring whether what they say is right or not, they just want to be heard, right? They give themselves permission. It doesn't have to be perfect what I'm going to say here. I'm just going to effing say it, and then I let them deal with it. Right?
Yeah,
they see themselves standing up for other women at work, which they would just have gone into the corner and bitched with somebody else about how rubbish everything is. And but they're not doing that anymore. They go, this isn't right. The fact that we're treating this woman this way, she shouldn't have to be dealing with all this nonsense, right? So let's help her. So they start standing up for other women. And what they also experience is that all of a sudden, other people start recognizing them as amazing leaders. So they start saying no, setting boundaries, stopping working so hard, trying to keep up with all the technical guys. And they just say what they want to say from the bottom up, right? One of my clients, she says, I want to be speaking like an opera singer sings.
Yes.
God, right? I don't want to be up here in my head because all the guys are in their heads, and they're
there already. Like,
so she started speaking from her heart, and people started listening to her, and that's when she realized how much power she had. She felt like a queen. She started feeling like a queen, the queen of the boardroom. She went from servant, from maid, to queen. Just by doing the internal work. Right? Yes.
I'm like, oh, you're speaking my language now. It is when you own yourself, it becomes a superpower. You teach people how to treat you as opposed to you accepting how people treat you. And then that is actually what forms incredible leadership. And when you use that wisely, with intent and with kindness, that it does equate to excellent leadership. It doesn't have to be just that technical side of things. If we think about the way we talk about masculine and femininity as potentially a sliding scale in terms of energies within boardrooms, that all is necessary in order to get the job done. So from that sort of clinical decision making to heart-centered decision making starts to allow for expansion. It's just phenomenal, Bianca. And I mean, I could talk to you all day on all of this. And I knew we were going to have an incredible conversation when I saw that you'd applied for the show and that you was going to be part of this whole Storymind process. And just before we leave today, how have you found that process, that sort of documentation of it, sort of writing that down and going, bloody hell, that was me, that was my life. I can see that on paper, in print now, in my hands.
I found it so difficult. Honestly, I found it so difficult because here's the thing, overcoming this shit that happened, right? And we didn't talk about what happened.
No.
Basically, I just tell you really quickly what happened was that my dad was an alcoholic, and he did not trust people in suits. He said people in suits are criminals. So he would come up the stairs every evening shouting abuse at all of us, how worthless we were, ruddy, all that stuff, right? And then there was one evening where, rather than hiding in bed, as I would usually do, I was revising for an exam the following morning. And I told him, no, I'm going to revise for this exam now. And he said, how dare you, stand up to me, ruddy. And he basically ended up chasing me out of the house, threatening that if I ever came back, he would shoot me. So that's why I say the first time I ever stood up for myself, I almost died.
Yeah, that's
at the hands of my own father, right? Because he was so angry. He was so angry, saying, how dare you? And overcoming that, I mean, I cycled with my bike to my granddad's because he was the only person that I trusted enough to actually go to. Like, I felt so ashamed. But overcoming all that was necessary for me to start standing up in the world of banking, right? Because it was the same scenario. Lots of guys telling you what to do. It was the same scenario as my dad telling me what to do at home, right? And me saying no. So saying no for me in the world of banking was just such a huge step to take. But when
no wonder you shook when the guy said, no wonder you felt so strongly when you had to say no.
Yeah. And then, but doing that twice, right? Once with my dad and once at banking, and not dying, basically, I was like, oh my gosh, I can say no all day long and not die.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew I'd overcome this thing with my dad, right? And I said no all the time in banking. No is a full sentence. And here's the thing, people are shocked, right? People say, oh my gosh, she's so lazy. What does she do all day, right? People were gossiping. But as a woman, you just have to, right? You just have to be able to ignore what all the naysayers say. Otherwise, if you try and please everybody, it just doesn't work.
No.
So sorry, and I forgot now what the question was, Dani.
So I was just talking about putting everything down, putting your story down, and writing how that felt, and we was talking about you leaving the corporate world into moving into what you do now, and you was telling me about the the relationship that you had with your parents, and the fact that that's even that experience has been necessary in order for you to do what you do now, isn't it? Like
this one, yes, writing it down and sharing it. I think there was still this sliver of blaming myself for what had happened, right? There's still this sliver of, oh my gosh, what are people gonna say? And of course, nobody would chase their own daughter out of the house if she was a good person, right? So it was this self-judgment that was still there for me. And I almost pulled out, actually. I thought, oh my gosh, this is not to be shared, right? And people are gonna think that I'm like damaging my dad's reputation. He's passed away, right? So but still, there was still this self-judgment. But now that it's out and I'm getting all these lovely messages from people, I feel I'm really glad that I did it, because just writing it down and publishing it, it's like finishing off the healing process, right? Because now I've shared it with so many people, and I fully own my story. And there is this saying that if you don't own your story will own you.
Yes.
And now that I've published this thing, I own my story, and it's just so empowering. It feels really amazing. So I'm so glad that I did it.
And also that becomes, your story, when you own your story like that, and when you share your story, it becomes somebody else's survival guide. And then if you think about, that you went through, and now you utilize all of that knowing and learning in that space to be able to then go and help other women be strong and be powerful within their roles. What beautiful way to pay it forward. And thank you for the work that you do in that field, because it is so necessary. So there is so much talent, such a wealth of talent out here in the business space, particularly with women and particularly with, you know, any marginalized community. There is a wealth of talent there that we are often frightened of stepping forward into and owning our powers. So thank you so much for all of the work that you do in that field, Bianca. You're bloody amazing, woman.
Oh, thank you, Dani. So are you.
Thanks very much. Thank you. So, Bianca, how do we find out more about you? How do we find out? How do we follow you or get involved with the things that you put out into the world?
Yeah, so I have a free self-promotion guide that you can get at bianca-template.com. And that works for women in corporate, but also women who have their own businesses. And it takes you through a step-by-step process where you can figure out what your achievements are and then communicate them to your clients or to your bosses if you're in corporate in a non-sleazy, non-braggy way, in a way that they will appreciate you a lot for what you did for them. So that's bianca-template.com.
Amazing. Would you be able to pop that link, not into the comment, not into the chat here, but onto the Queen Bee Dani page on Facebook where this lives, this live. If you pop that in there, and then you guys are able to go. What an incredible tool to be able to access as well, because I think one of the things that we do struggle with is self-promotion. How do we say these things about ourselves without sounding like, well, you know? How do we do it? Swish, swish, bish, like that. How do we share these things and it not feel like that? And you can say with it, well, you are well within your rights when you're an expert in your field. Say, hey, I'm an expert in my field. I am good at these things. I am well positioned. All of this sort of stuff. So what a great tool to be able to access to learn how to do that. Go and get it, you lot. We will pop the link in the comments across the lives. Bianca Riemer, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you for having me, Dani. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Amazing, amazing. Take care, my darling. Congratulations on becoming an international best-selling author.
Thank you.
The book is wonderful. I haven't got to your chapter yet, but I can't wait to read that today as well. But yeah, what a blinding job. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you, Dani.
That was Bianca Riemer, everybody. What an incredible human being. What a story. What a great way to kick off this week. What a great way to kick off a Monday with that kind of fire, with that kind of ownership of self. And that's what I want to kind of lead you guys into this week with. That it is all of it, whatever it is that you want, is all within your power to achieve and attain. And it isn't just a case of, oh, I've just got to believe in yourself. You can actually take steps. There are people out there, such as Bianca, who can help you with those things. I am so excited to see who else is going to be jumping on the Summer Swarm Strategy Sessions. We are going to be opening up the doors to the show, Rise Up Show as well, again, in the next couple of weeks. So if you would like to be on the show to share your story, your expertise, and your value with our incredible and beautiful community, please do give us a shout. In the meantime, make sure you go and follow me on the Instagram at the Queen Bee Dani, and make sure you come and carry on the conversation with us in the IATQB Hive. All you've got to do is go to Facebook and search IATQB Hive, hit the join button, and I will see you in there. In the meantime, have an incredible Monday. Go rip it up today, and I will see you tomorrow at 9:30 for more showing up, wising up, and rising up. Tra.